Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are jumping into one of the fastest moving and highest stakes challenges in public life, really.
Absolutely. The rapid integration of artificial intelligence into K-12 education.
Exactly. This is not some sci-fi future we're talking about. AI is here, it's reshaping the workforce, and school districts are caught in this huge balancing act.
They really are. They have to adopt these powerful new tools for efficiency, but at the same time, they need to build ethical guardrails and, prepare students for a world that's going to be driven by this technology.
And that balancing act is exactly what we're digging into. We've gone through a huge stack of sources, everything from what the market for AI grading tools looks like right now in 2025.
All the way to these big, comprehensive guidance documents from the U.S. Department of Education and major school districts on policy, on risk management, the whole thing.
So for you listening, our mission today is pretty simple. We want to give you the critical knowledge to understand both sides of this coin.
The immediate applications, what's on the market, and the huge systemic challenges around policy and equity that districts have to solve, like yesterday.
You really have to understand the market to understand the risks.
That's the perfect place to start. Let's talk about what's actually out there.
Okay, so the immediate reality, AI is grading homework. And this isn't just one tool, is it? Our sources show the market is already. It's almost like a collection of surgical tools.
That's a great way to put it. It's highly specialized. And that specialization is really key to understanding how schools are adopting it. They're not just buying an AI.
They're looking for a specific feature match.
Exactly. So say you're a school administrator just buried in grading at the end of the quarter. You might look at something like Kangaroo's AI.
Okay, what's that one for?
It's all about bulk processing. You can upload thousands of essays, docs, PDF, even JPEGs of handwritten work. Use your own custom rubrics and just process a huge volume.
And then you have the big established names that are evolving, like Turnitin.
Right. Everyone knows Turnitin for plagiarism checks. Well, now it has excellent AI content detection built right in. It's adapting its core product for this new world of generative AI.
What's really fascinating, though, is how specialized these tools are getting for technical work.
Oh, absolutely. Because efficiency comes from matching the tool to the task. For technical stuff, you've got Gradescope AI, which is great for structured things like math exams or basic coding.
But then there are even more niche tools.
Yes, like CodeMark AI. It's just for programming. It offers multi-language support and, critically, actual debugging feedback. That tells you a general purpose. AI just can't handle that level of technical detail.
Which brings up the big question, what about subjective work? A creative writing piece, a history project. Can AI really judge creativity?
The market is definitely trying. You see tools like the AI Grader app that focus on that. They try to offer things like creativity scoring or engagement metrics.
But I'm guessing there's a catch.
A big one. Our sources are clear that these subjective graders perform really poorly on technical tasks. They just don't have the precision. So it's still a compromise.
It's all about finding that niche.
It is. We even found Essays AI, which is tailored for argumentative essays. It can do bias detection and even check citations.
And what about handwritten stuff? I mean, kids still use paper.
Yep, PaperScore AI. It uses optical character recognition, OCR, to scan and grade handwritten work.
So the big takeaway here is that the efficiency isn't just speed. It's about accuracy within a very specific, narrow domain.
Precisely. You need to align the tool, whether it's Quizmark AI for multiple choice or something super specific, directly to the assignment. That's where the real-time saving comes from.
Okay, so the market has these incredible specialized tools, but speed without guardrails, that just sounds like chaos, which brings us to policy.
And this is where the crisis is. The tools are moving so much faster than the governance.
How far behind are we talking?
Well, the teachers are actually pretty open to it. A 2023 survey found 58% of PK-12 teachers had a favorable view of something like ChatGPT. They see the potential.
But the districts.
That's the problem. As of late 2023, 79% of educators said their districts had no formal policies on AI use.
79%. That's a massive policy vacuum.
It's a huge gap.
Yeah.
And when you integrate these systems without clear rules, you're immediately exposed to at least 5 critical risk profiles. And it's so much more than just kids cheating.
Let's get into those. I want to zero in on the two most complex ones, starting with bias and privacy risk. We hear bias all the time, but what does it actually look like here?
The danger is where the AI gets its information. The models are trained on historical data, right? And that data is full of our past biases. Racial, gender, socioeconomic prejudices are all baked in.
So give me an example.
Okay. Imagine an AI grader is trained mostly on essays from high-performing students at affluent schools. It learns that a certain style, a certain structure is good writing.
And if a student from a different background writes something brilliant but unconventional,
The AI might systematically downgrade it. It leads to algorithmic discrimination. You're essentially programming the status quo right into the assessment.
wow. And that connects directly to the other huge risk, data security. These systems need rich learner data to work, which sounds risky.
Incredibly risky,
Yeah,
especially with unauthorized use of what are called LMMs, large language models.
that's the tech behind tools like ChatGPT.
Exactly. And the danger is when, say, a staff member or a student pastes confidential information into one of these public-facing tools.
What happens to that data?
It often gets vacuumed up to train the company's future models. And critically, it can be reviewed by human contractors. It is not private.
So if a well-meaning teacher pastes in their classes anonymized test scores to get a summary report, they could be committing a huge privacy violation.
A massive one. And here's the really insidious part. Even if you think the data is anonymized, there's a risk called de-anonymization.
How does that work?
Imagine a district uploads a big batch of supposedly anonymous data. Student IDs, class schedules, maybe test scores. A bad actor could take that data and cross-reference it with public information, like a high school sports roster or an honor roll list, and figure out who the individual students are.
That's a direct violation of laws like FERPA.
Absolutely. That's a major legal and compliance risk, which is the second risk profile.
Okay, so we have bias and legal compliance. What's the third profile?
That's the educational and pedagogical risk. This is the core teaching and learning concern, the fear that students become over-reliant on the tech.
And they lose their critical thinking skills.
Exactly. If an AI tutor always gives you the answer or debugs your code for you, you lose the productive struggle. That struggle is where deep learning actually happens. The goal isn't just the answer, it's mastering the process to get there.
And the other two risks are more operational.
Right. Inaccurate communication, that's the hallucinations you hear about, and then technological risks like system failures or incompatibility.
So, given all that, governance needs to catch up. Like now, where should districts even begin?
They have to start with their fundamental policies, their acceptable use policies, or AUPs, and especially their procurement standards.
What needs to change with procurement?
They have to demand transparency. When a district buys an AI tool, the vendor must be required to disclose how their model was built and what data it was trained on.
You can't have a black box making decisions about a kid's future.
You can't. This aligns directly with the White House blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights, specifically the right to notice and explainability.
And this isn't just a U.S. issue, right? There's global movement here.
A lot of movement. The European Union passed the AI Act, which became effective in May 2024, and it takes a very aggressive stance.
So,
It outright bans certain high-risk AI uses in sectors like education. The EU considers AI used for grading or admissions to be high risk, precisely because of that potential for bias we just talked about. It shows that strong regulation is possible.
this policy vacuum, it leads us to maybe the most important long-term piece of the puzzle, AI literacy.
For both students and teachers, yes. They need to learn with AI, using the tools, but also learn about AI to critically examine its role in their lives.
The curriculum has to shift then, away from just seeing AI as a tool like a fancy spell checker.
Completely. The guidance we synthesized really focuses on middle and high school, using these incredibly relatable analogies to explain complex ideas.
Let's talk about some of those. What's this AI Explorer's strategy?
It's about demystifying how AI learns. The analogy is simple. You teach a robot to recognize a cat by showing it thousands and thousands of cat pictures. That's machine learning in a nutshell.
And then the students apply that idea to the real world.
Right. They look at things like facial recognition or self-driving cars and discuss both the good and the bad, the consequences.
I love this next one, decoding AI intuition. It gets right at the idea that AI can't just replicate human common sense.
It's the core distinction, isn't it? AI intuition is purely data-driven. It recognizes patterns, but it can't generalize from emotion or social cues or life experience the way we do.
So how do you teach that?
Through debate. Students tackle questions like, can an AI's understanding really be influenced by bias, or is it just reflecting the data? It helps them separate correlation from causation.
There's also one for tackling recommendation algorithms called behind the scene.
Yeah, this one's great. The analogy is a librarian who knows your reading tastes so well they can pick out books you'll love. That's what TikTok or Netflix is doing.
And the students then look at the drawbacks of
The
that.
filter bubbles. The way personalized content can actually limit your exposure to new ideas. It
Or-
gives them a sense of agency over what they see online.
And finally, for chatbots, they use a metaphor about friendship being a garden.
It's a really powerful way to frame it. A chatbot can mimic conversation because it's seen billions of examples, but it lacks depth, it lacks reciprocity,
So friendship is the garden.
and it needs the sunlight of face-to-face interaction and the soil of mutual understanding. It's so important for students to know the difference between a helpful tool and a real human connection.
That's a great point, but let's be practical. If a student is already using a chatbot for their homework, is a metaphor going to stop them? The teacher has to be that human in the loop.
They are the crucial barrier, and the technology has to be designed to support that. The U.S. Department of Education laid out clear principles for this.
What are they?
First, the tools have to be inspectable and explainable. A teacher needs to know how an AI analyzed student work and why it made a certain recommendation.
So they can see its logic.
They have to. Imagine an unconventional but brilliant essay gets flagged by an AI. The teacher needs to be able to see why it was flagged, to know if the AI found a real error or just failed to recognize something new.
Which leads to the second principle, I assume.
It does. The tools must be overridable. The teacher has to have the final say. Always. Their professional judgment has to be able to override any automated decision,
So the balance is to let AI handle the mundane stuff.
like administrative tasks or grading simple responses, yes. That frees up the teacher for more one-on-one time with students. But leaders have to be vigilant that these tools don't just become a new way to surveil teachers.
So as we wrap up, this deep dive really confirms that AI presents this incredible opportunity for personalized learning, for efficiency. Things like intelligent tutoring systems are a huge deal.
They are, but the ethical challenges, the equity issues, the privacy risks, they are completely inseparable from the technology itself. You can't have one without the other.
And trust has to be built through transparency and human oversight.
Constant oversight, diligently checking for bias, ensuring privacy laws are followed. It's a continuous process.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to take away. The pace of this innovation is just relentless, but there's a huge question about who it's actually serving.
With things like the digital divide and all the existing disparities in education, the R&D community really needs to pivot.
So the critical question for education leaders is this. How do we shift that R&D focus towards solving the long tail of learner variability?
Meaning, how do we address those highly specific, context-sensitive, individual student needs?
Even if focusing on that necessary depth slows down the pace of widespread generalized adoption, it really forces us to ask if we should be aiming for perfect equity over maximum speed.